comfortably ahead. Oh no, the engine's gone! The engine's gone for Carlos Sainz. He stopped it, it's off the track, but Ferrari looked nailed on certainties for a...
Ferrari has been troubled by engine issues as well as tire degradation all season. For example, Charles Leclerc crashed twice when victory was within reach. It was Carlos Sainz's turn again in Austria. The Spaniard was denied 18 World Cup points. Ferrari is concerned since it is not just Sainz who has had problems with the Italian engine. The French Grand Prix ended up being Ferrari's hardest hit race of the 2021 Formula One season, with both drivers finishing outside the points on pure race speed. Scuderia Ferrari drivers Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz got off to a decent start, but it quickly became evident that the SF21 cars lacked the racing pace of their immediate competitors on this track. As the race continued, tire degradation became a serious concern for Ferrari as Charles and Carlos were unable to compete against McLaren, Alpine, AlphaTauri, and Aston Martin in what turned out to be a miserable afternoon for the Maranello squad at the Circuit de Catalunya. The Austrian Grand Prix was also a dramatic experience for Sainz. The Spaniard was on his path to a solid finish in second place when his Ferrari engine failed in the final minutes of the race. Carlos Sainz's vehicle broke up on lap 56 of 71, resulting in a DNF. According to the Spanish daily Marca, Sainz will have to swap engines in France and would so start from the rear of the grid. A massive fire broke out after his engine failed, rendering it inoperable. Ferrari may look into the present pool of engines, but according to the Spanish magazine, the other engines have already reached their mileage limit. That is not an option on the Paul Ricard circuit. Ferrari had intended to avoid using a fourth engine over the summer break, but Sainz is now going to get a new engine of the same spec that still has reliability concerns. Because this is his fourth engine, he will face a significant grid penalty. The new specification will be introduced only at Spa or Monza, when Sainz will face another grid penalty. In the driver standings, the Spaniard is presently 75 points behind Max Verstappen. The difference between him and team member Charles Leclerc is 37 points. Back in Maranello, Charles Leclerc finished P16 and one lap behind the race winner, with 2 stops for the Monegasque driver who battled with the tires. Carlos Sainz completed the race with a single pit stop strategy and attempted to finish in 10th place to earn Scuderia Ferrari's single point at the Circuit Paul Ricard. But the Spanish driver was unable to defend against Lance Stroll in the final laps and finished P11, causing the Maranello team to drop to 3rd place in the constructors' standing at the end of the 2021 French Grand Prix. The maintenance of Ferrari's front tires looks to be the primary cause of its tire degradation problem. The researchers discovered that the SF21's fronts heated up rapidly and operated in a relatively restricted temperature band. Such a feature might be beneficial for a qualifying lap, especially on slower circuits like Monaco and Baku, where tire warm-up is important. It's a trend we've seen all season, with Ferrari being quick in qualifying but not necessarily translating that into race speed. When a driver's tires are too soft for the track temperature, it becomes very impossible to stay inside the necessary window. The tires will then overheat, changing their physical qualities from the intended high grip levels to a level that is below standard. This degradation may occur fast, and you will notice it when a driver pits more early than predicted. Driving style and automobile configuration may significantly lower this, which is why some drivers get far more life out of their tires than others. This is also why teams use medium tires in races and softs in qualifying. Ferrari has suffered with tire degradation in past Grand Prix this season, and Sainz confessed that the team has struggled more in races than in qualifying. However, he also cited the team's strong performance at the Spanish Grand Prix, which took place on a tire-stressing Barcelona track, as proof that race pace has not been an issue. He went on to say that they are attempting to figure out why they have such a tight window and why they struggle with front tire wear more than their rivals. I'm confident the entire crew will return to the factory tonight, and starting tomorrow, we will be working incredibly hard to fix it, since it's apparent. You don't have to be a genius to know that we're in trouble. This was one of Sainz's remarks. Because of the severity of Ferrari's problems, Sainz and Leclerc were ultimately helpless to stop their fall down the order in the second stint. In the early laps, Sainz radioed his crew to complain about how much worse the degradation was than planned, but he kept 5th place until his pit stop, while Leclerc had hardly lost 7th place when he made his first stop. But neither had the performance on the hard tires to stay ahead of the middle cars they were racing, and both recognized early in their stints that getting to the finish would be tough. On lap 13 of 53, Leclerc was the first one to pit, knowing he'd have a difficult second stint ahead of him. He said it became clearer and clearer that he'd need to adapt a two-stop strategy after being quite astonished at how early he began to struggle on the hards. Sainz stated that he was only hoping that by reaching lap 17 on the mediums in the first stint, he would be capable of making the hards last until the end, which he accomplished, but at too sluggish a pace to avoid dropping out of the points. Several elements conspired to make the French Grand Prix so difficult for Ferrari. Because Paul Ricard has faster corners, it pushes more energy into the tires than locations like Monaco and Baku, making it more difficult to maintain tire temperatures under control. Furthermore, the rain that fell Saturday night and Sunday morning washed away most of the rubber that automobiles had laid down earlier in the weekend. It meant a green track surface with significantly less grip for the race, which is always a trigger for higher than normal deterioration, plus graining as vehicles slide more. When Sainz fell off the track on his bike, he saw firsthand how much less grip there was than planned. Ferrari's front tire issue appears to be something that cannot be solved with simple configuration modifications. Team principal Mattia Binotto believes that the answer can only be found in the medium to long term with some big vehicle component changes. Increased tire pressures were ruled out by Binotto as the reason for Ferrari's problems because they affected the rears and his team's issue was on the front left. He stated that they could improve the problem, but that in order to do so, they would need to replace certain hardware, such as the rims, which is not feasible according to the regulation. He noted that it is more critical at this point to try to identify and fix the issue for next year, adding that this issue may reoccur at some races, but not all. He stated that it was due to track and weather circumstances, and they must plan for similar scenarios in the future, and, at the very least, strive to alleviate the problem since it will occur again. The mention of the wheel rims is particularly intriguing, as it almost certainly proves that Ferrari is merely overheating its front tires. Modern wheel rims are highly sophisticated and were homologated for this year such that they could only be altered by burning tokens. Teams utilize them for aerodynamic effect as well as airflow to assist regulate tire temperatures. In Ferrari's instance, it may have gone too far in pursuing aerodynamic improvements over heat extraction, resulting in the rim, and hence the tires, becoming hotter than the team would want. While Ferrari understands what went wrong in France, it now has a frantic few days to figure out why it was so awful, and what it can do to avoid a repetition. So, what are your opinions? Do you believe Ferrari would be the #1 team on the field if it weren't for mechanical failures? And do you believe they will dominate the upcoming races? Please let us know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.